Tonight's true scary story is wild, and it just goes to show you what like demonic forces or evil forces can do to a family. I am going to give a trigger warning for domestic violence, and animals do pass away in this, so if you cannot handle that, please do not watch. But before we get started, if you could smash that like button for me, it really does help me out, but only if you appreciate my work. And also hit that subscribe button so you can get notified next time I tell a true scary story that you guys submit to me. So tonight's submitter's name is Cass, and when Cass was 17, her mom and her mom's husband moved to a pretty remote location. The thing about this location is it was down the street from a very large, almost empty campground. They were located right on the highway, and they had a single neighbor next to them. Their single neighbor was their landlord, who was a priest or a pastor. She doesn't remember which one, but he was one of those things. Now, they were expecting this house to be run down and just terrible with the price that they had gotten it at, but when they looked at it, it was absolutely beautiful. 2 stories, a gorgeous sunroom, a large garage. The garage led out back with trails that led to the woods. The back porch was a little shabby, and the exterior could have used some paint, but other than that, it was nice. So her mom and her stepdad jumped at this opportunity, and she knows that this sounds like a cliche horror movie story, but she promises this was dark. Still to this day, she cannot fathom why that man would rent anyone that house, especially being a man of God. When they moved in, it was strange from the beginning. They ended up with a pet wolf that walked right into their house and would not leave. It scared the crap out of them, and they didn't know why this wolf wasn't with a pack or at least another wolf, but they assumed that she had maybe just strayed away from them. She never growled, bit, or intimidated anyone. She got really attached to them, especially her mom. Followed her mom everywhere, but the wolf would freak out whenever it would get near the stairs leading to the 2nd floor. Something about going up there was horrifying to that wolf. And this is a wolf we're talking about here that's scared, so that's terrifying. Her parents were pretty big on exotic animals, so they kept her along with 5 daegu. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, along with a few bearded dragons and a parrot. She doesn't think that they stayed in that house for more than like 6 years, a year at most, because the things that happened in this house were wild. But pretty small instances at first before it just became completely uninhabitable for them. It started with little things, like her brother's artwork being flipped over. He would draw cartoons, but he didn't like anyone to look at his artwork until after he was finished. So he'd leave them face down on his desk, but every time he would come back to his desk, the drawings would be flipped back over. So apparently he kept accusing the family of flipping over his drawings because he was walking out of the room and coming back in, and this was happening. So her mom got so annoyed by this that finally one day she took him out of the room after he had flipped over his drawings. They walked outside of the room, they waited a couple minutes, they went back into the room, and what do you know? The drawings were flipped back over. Nobody had gone into that room. Now in the master bedroom, there was a massive mirror built onto the wall at the end of the bed. It was one of those mirrors made of smaller mirrors, like put together by a puzzle, which already sounds like not good. And her stepdad started spending an insane amount of time in that room alone, and he wouldn't answer anybody or talk to anybody unless he was downstairs. The room was always cold, but she remembers him always looking sweaty, and there was even a fan that he never turned off that was next to the bed. Now things started to get worse when her mom, who put the parrot's bird cage at the end of the staircase, like at the bottom of the staircase, started feeding the parrot. He had loudly been squawking and like moving around, fluttering around in his cage all day, and she assumed that he needed more food. So she took the food in the water bowl into the kitchen to fill it up with food and water, and when she came back to give it to the parrot was dead at the bottom of the cage. Now her mom thought that this was pretty strange, but they all knew that the bird was pretty old, so they just buried him. And then 2 months later, her mom and her stepdad went and adopted 2 red macaws. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This time, her mom got a much bigger cage and put it in the dining room. And while they had transported the birds from where they got it to the house, the birds were completely quiet. But when she brought them inside into the house, they were just loud and frantic. They were 2 young parrots, so they figured that they would just calm down with time. But 2 months later, they came in and they found them dead at the bottom of the cage. The exact same had happened. She had went to go refill their food and water. Her mom came back and they were dead at the bottom of the cage, just like the other bird. Then her youngest sister started acting not like herself. She was always very loving and caring towards animals, but she turned like aggressive and impulsive towards them. Like she didn't understand that animals can die easily. She was shoving rocks into the mouths of bearded dragons that they had. 2 of them actually died because of this, and her mom was absolutely furious with her. She found herself constantly sending her daughter to her room so that she could properly handle the animals and take care of them without her sister interfering and hurting them. Well, one day she pulls a hammer out and she pulls her pet Daegu out of the cage and starts chasing it around the house with that hammer. So Cass sees this and she yells out to her mom, and they both chase after her. Finally, they caught her in the living room, but she had cornered the Daegu and had the hammer in her hand and was about to bring it down on the Daegu when her mom grabbed her arm and stopped her. Her mom jerks her arm away from it, and then Cass catches the Daegu and puts it back into its enclosure. Her mom then looks at her daughter and says, "Why would you ever do something like that to an animal?" And then Cass kind of kneels down and looks at her sister, and she looks like she's in this trance. It scared Cass. Her mom grabs her sister by the arms and starts shaking her and asks her the same question over and over again. Why would you do this to an animal? Why would you do this to an animal? And finally, her sister snaps out of it, looks up at her mom, and just starts sobbing. She starts shaking and she's still crying, and she's like, "I didn't want to kill him. I love him, but I had to." This made them panic a little bit, and her mom asks her, "Why? Why did you have to do that? Why?" And her mom was talking very calmly to her at this point. Then her sister says something chilling. She says, "The man with the black eyes told me to. He told me that if I didn't do it, he would kill you all." Cass and her mom just sat there for a second, completely froze. And then her mom looks at her and says, "The black man with no eyes? Who is that?" To which her sister responds, "He's a black man that lives in the mirror. He has no eyes, and he whispers to me, but his mouth doesn't move. I can hear him though, and he's scary." After this, things got way worse. Her stepdad started getting violent and angry and started doing cruel things to all of them. Even things like calling her mom fat and buying her bonbons and a treadmill all at the same time. He flipped the dining room table over on her brother after her brother just asked for seconds for dinner. Apparently, there's a lot of things that he did that were really bad, but she doesn't want to bring it into the story because she doesn't want to recount those things or think about them ever again. Her mom started to get really quiet and stopped saying much of anything unless she needed to. Even Cass's boyfriend at the time said that he left because the house freaked him out. She would often invite her boyfriend over because she hated being alone there, and her siblings also avoided the house by going to their other parents' house or friends' houses. Her mom and stepdad really liked going to auctions, so they would often leave Cass alone home with her siblings, or to just sit at home alone if the kids weren't there. On one of the days she was left home alone, her boyfriend couldn't make it to visit, so she stayed on the phone with him for as long as she could. But the call died in the middle of her phone call, and the worst part about this was she had actually lent her sister her charger before her sister went to her dad's house for the day. So it was upstairs in her sister's room, and she knew she had to go up there, and she dreaded it. She tried to coax the wolf to go upstairs with her, but she refused to go up there and just cried loudly at the bottom of the stairs. She quickly ran to the end of the hall, got the charger, and ran out. But as she was passing by her parents' room, she got this huge wave of nausea. She stopped for a second right outside the bedroom door and made the mistake of looking over. There was a silhouette of a tall man sitting on the bed with his feet on the floor. She freaked out, threw her back against the wall, and reached around the wall to hit the light switch. She thought somebody had broken into the house, and she was using every bit of courage that she had to try to look at them and get them to get out by chasing them out. But when she turned the light back on, nothing was there. That's when she ran down the stairs, plugged her charger in, waited for her phone to turn on, and then called her mom. They had to come home early from the auction because Cass was so frantic. Her stepdad was furious. A few days later, it had snowed a lot, and it was freezing in her room, so her brother had actually told her that she could use his room because there was an electric heater in that room. He was going to his dad's house that night, so she turns on the heater and she goes to bed. In her brother's room, there was a tall mirror built into the wall, much like the master bedroom, but not nearly as big and not put together like a puzzle. Still, super freaked out from the previous events, she'll admit she was too freaked out to turn the light off. So she slept with them off. She woke up freezing, looked at her phone, and it's 3 a.m. That itself gave her the creeps. Then she looks over at the heater and it had somehow been knocked over in the middle of the night. But her parents went to bed before she did. She knew nobody else was there, so she decided to let it go and she just turned the heater back on. She wasn't sure if she could go back to sleep or not, so she sat in bed and she looked up at the mirror. Her hair was a mess, like she had been thrashing in her sleep, so she tried to comb it through with her fingers. The light was still on, but while she was looking into the mirror, the entire mirror went pitch black. She immediately starts screaming. She runs out of the room. Her mom is running into the hallway at the same time, and she just starts begging her mom to find a new house. She was absolutely terrified. Now, the next day, her mom decides to go to the landlord's house to question him about the activity in the house because they had had enough at this point. He refused to talk to them, instead shook his head and locked his door. They were flabbergasted, as I would be. Are you joking? Soon after that, they moved out and her mom divorced her stepdad, thankfully, and her stepdad actually refused to leave the house. And the wolf, it died the day that they left, and they were devastated because they loved that wolf. Especially through all that, she had become their best friend. Now, the reason that she says that she doesn't understand what this thing was is because they never experienced anything like doors slamming, knocking, scratches, bruises, slamming doors. However, it was like it influenced some of them and then taunted the rest of them. It had clearly had the capability of killing small animals or scaring them to death, considering what happened to the birds, and it could manifest itself in some way, but it seemed to be strongest in the master bedroom. The description that her sister gave of this thing is horrifying. Like a man, jet black, almost unreal skin, no eyes. He spoke without moving his lips, and she said that he whispered. It gave Cass chills thinking about it. The worst thing is, she's not sure if it's entirely gone. She's in her 30s now. And before moving out of the state about 3 or 4 years ago, she lived in an apartment with her youngest sister and her daughter, who is now 10 years old. One day, her sister went to go visit her mom. Cass was watching a movie in the bedroom with her daughter, but her daughter made her pause the movie because she had to go to the bathroom. Her bathroom was across the hall from the room. It was in the middle of the day and there was plenty of light. Her daughter was about 6 years old at the time. She came out of the bathroom, her face twisted in fear. She was terrified. She dropped to the floor, put her back against the wall, and just starts screaming. Cass runs over to her, picks her up, and takes her back to the bedroom. She tried her best to calm her down and even went in the hallway to go see if there was like a bug or something. Like maybe a bug had gotten to the house. There was nothing there. The moment her daughter calmed down and told her what she saw, she was floored. It still terrifies her to this day. Her daughter said, "Mommy, I'm scared. There's a man in the hallway, but he looked bad." So she asks her, what does she mean by bad? And she said, "It was a black man with no eyes." Now every time Cass sees something out of the corner of her eye, she jumps. She does not want whatever this thing is to be attached to them. Her daughter still talks about it sometimes, but has not said anything about seeing it since. Though she does say that she does see shadow figures sometimes. Now that is like a creepy haunted house story that sounds so realistic and terrifying. And the fact that like all of those animals died like that and that did happen is absolutely crazy. It almost sounds like brujeria to me. Like I don't even know what to say about this. And then the wolf dies the day that they move? That's crazy. Like what do you think happened here in this house? And what do you think about that pastor or that preacher, whatever he was, the priest, actually being the landlord of a house that is so evil and renting it out to people, obviously knowing that it's evil because of how cheap they got the house for? Like that's insane to me. I need to sit up straighter. I notice in my videos I'm like this all the time, like meh, like what is wrong with me? But do you guys think this is attached to her? This is scary that her daughter saw the man in her apartment that she has now, and like that's crazy. It was 4 years ago. Her daughter was 6 years old when she saw it. She's 10 now and she hasn't seen it again, she says, but she still talks about it. It terrified her enough for where she still talks about it. And the animals freaking out like they did about the upstairs says a lot. That says a lot. The whole time I was reading this story, I was like, I wonder if witchcraft is involved in this at all. Maybe if people were doing it before they moved in, who lived in that house, or if like something happened there, something traumatic or bad happened there, because this sounds absolutely crazy. And the fact that it was able to influence her stepfather and her sister like that is insane. But it seemed to influence her stepfather in a little bit more of a malicious way. Like he seemed to turn pretty evil, and we don't even know the half of it. it. Her sister seemed to be trying to protect her family and going into these like trances and trying to kill the animals, but at least she had remorse for it. Her stepfather did not, and then chose to stay there afterwards. I wonder what happened to him. That's my question. What happened to that dude? Because it sounds like he deserved all that shit that was happening. Stories lately that I've been getting about step parents just make me so mad. Like, oh, at least this mother left the stepfather. Like, go you, mama. So drop what you guys think about this story in the comments, please. What do you think was going on here? Do you think this was demonic? Do you think this was demonic? Do you think it was witchcraft? Do you think that it was just like a poltergeist or an evil spirit? What do you think it was? We would love to know, and she would love to know. She says this still haunts her to this day. But now we're gonna go on to my favorite part, which is what? The shout outs. My first shout out is going to Ruby Ramirez 9308. Thank you so much for complimenting my storytelling style. That means the absolute world to me because I love doing this so much. So that was such a sweet comment that you left, and I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you supporting me. I appreciate you commenting, just being a part of my little community. It really does mean so much to me. Thank you for being kind. I appreciate you more than you know, and I love you. Thank you. Shout out is going to Trinity K6C. I just saw your comment. I'm sorry I haven't responded to it yet. You guys, I'm sorry. There are some comments on one of my videos I haven't responded to yet, and I will get to that. I'm so sorry it's taken me so long. I love you guys so much. I'm so sorry. But Trinity, thank you so much for your comment. It was so sweet. I appreciate you also commenting on my storytelling style. It really does mean so much to me. It means so much to me when people are kind. Thank you for coming over here from TT. Like, I appreciate that so much. Supporting me on both places means everything to me. Thank you. I love you. And with that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every 3 nights that you guys submit to me. So if you're into that, then hit that subscribe button so you can get notified the next time I tell a true scary story. And I have fully decided that I'm going to start doing the longest videos that I can. So try to send me your longest stories, you guys. I'm talking like life stories, ones that are going to take me 40 minutes to tell. Okay, otherwise I'm going to look for them on the internet because my long videos do the best. I like doing them the most. Like, I feel like I get into it more, and it's just like I like the longer content. So that's going to be what I'm focusing on YouTube, and that's why I'm doing it every 3 days. But I just need you guys to do 3 things for me now. And what are those? I need you to keep sending me your scary stories. I need you to have a safe night. And what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys. See you in the next one.